Hi, welcome to Saturday Kitchen. This programme has been recorded so you can enjoy it at a time that suits you. This means that our phone lines are now closed, so don't call us as you may be charged. Enjoy the show. Good morning. Let's get your weekend started with 90 minutes of sensational cooking. This is Saturday Kitchen Live. And welcome to the show. With me in the studio today are two men at the forefront of the great British culinary scene. First, the man who runs the multi-award-winning pub, the Hardwick in Wales. It's the brilliant Stephen Terry. And next to him is a new face to Saturday Kitchen, but he's flying the flag of fine Yorkshire food from his Michelin-starred pub also, the Pipe and Glass in Beverley. It's James Mackenzie. Good morning to you both.
Morning, James.
Morning.
So, Stephen, you're firing away. What are you going to make for us?
I'm going to make a pasta rotolo, which essentially, it's like a Swiss roll, but instead of sponge, we've got pasta. Instead of jam, we've got pork.
Okay.
It's rolled up. It's served with some creamed endive with a beautiful crispy fennel salad on the top.
And what's it stuffed with? What are you going to stuff it with?
It's using up the roast pork from the Sunday lunch. Just dice it up, fry it off, blend it up, and spread it over the pasta and roll it up.
James, we've got meat on the menu for you, but different.
We have indeed. It's salt beef we're using. So cured brisket of beef that's been cured for a week and then boiled like you would a piece of ham. And then we're going to use that to make a salt beef hash cake with a fried egg and some gooseberry ketchup to use them leftover gooseberries hanging around in the freezer. And then we're going to do some pickled onion rings on top of that as well.
Pickled onion rings.
Yeah,
Deep fried
crispy.
pickled onion rings.
Yeah.
There you go. So two great weekend dishes to look forward to. And we've also got our fantastic lineup of top 3D films from the BBC's archive. Today we've got helpings from Rick Stein, Ken Holm, Chinky Guan and the latest Celebrity MasterChef. Now, our special guest has starred in some of the biggest British films and TV shows, including Love Actually, the groundbreaking BBC sitcom My Family, and he's currently appearing in the BBC's latest series of the Caribbean detective drama Death in Paradise. Please welcome to Saturday Kitchen, it's Chris Marshall. Great to have you on the show, Chris. Now, first of all, congratulations, taking over from Ben Miller as well.
Yes, marvellous.
I was expecting to see you with us sometime. When do you film that then?
Well, I got back in October, so
it's gone now.
It's all gone now.
So how often? Because it's what is it? An 8-part series? That's what you film at one go?
It's 8 one-hour episodes, and we film it sort of over about 6 months.
That's a tough job, isn't it?
6 months in the Caribbean. Don't feel too sorry for me.
And you're back in Clapham.
Back in Clapham.
Anyway, now, of course, at the end of today's programme, either cook food heaven or food hell for Chris. It's going to be something based on your favourite ingredient, food heaven, or your nightmare ingredient, food hell. It's up to our chefs there and some of our viewers to decide which one you'll be getting. So, food heaven. If you could pick anything on your travels around the Caribbean, anything, what would you choose?
Chicken. I eat chicken all the time.
Chicken?
I'm quite... my cooking could be best described as perfunctory at best.
Right.
And I cook quickly, eat quickly, and so I eat a lot of chicken.
Chicken, all right. And what about the dreaded food hell? Because this is quite unusual, really. But,
is it?
Well, we've never had... I don't think we've had it as our food hell on the show before.
Tuna.
What is it about tuna?
Well, I think it comes from my childhood, you know, when people used to make a tuna sandwich and they'd open that can of tuna and that sort of briny smell would permeate through the air and I'd have to run out the room. It's just...
Because there is another sort of ingredient as well that you don't like, isn't it, really?
Melon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any form of melon. It just doesn't taste of anything. I don't understand why.
It could be a dish you come back
Who eats
to.
melon?
Well, you might be in a minute. So there you go. It's either chicken or tuna for Chris. For Food Heaven, I'm going to do a dish that would be perfect for a weekend lunch. Chicken with cream and Madeira sauce. The chicken is cut into pieces, then sautéed with some bacon, garlic, shallots and some wild mushrooms. Then I'm going to add some nice chicken stock, some Madeira, some cream, handful of tarragon, and it's just gently simmered to piping hot with some mashed potato and some French beans on the side.
Sounds lovely. Sounds beautiful.
Sounds pretty good. Or Chris could be facing Food Hell, of course. That tuna. Now I'm going to sear the tuna, steak very, very quickly, along with slices of watermelon, and it's served with some ginger pickle puree, a hot ginger pickle puree made from tamarind, and finished off with a few salad leaves to go with it. Hell on a plate for you, isn't it, really?
Just that is hell.
There you go. Well, you have to wait to the end of the show to find out which one he's going to get. Now, if you'd like to put your questions to any of our chefs today, then you can call this number. That's 033 0123 1410. That's 033 0123 1410. And if we're able to put your questions to us live a little later on, and if I do get to speak to you, then I'll be also asking you whether you want Chris here to face Food Heaven or Food Hell. Now, breakfast, pasta. How do you fancy that?
I don't normally eat pasta for breakfast.
Nor do I, but that's what we're going to get, apparently, by cooking by this man. As first up is the brilliant Stephen Terry. Welcome back, Stephen.
Thanks, James.
And we've got some... this is an unusual dish, but I know we've got to crack on and get this pork cooking, so fire away. What's the name of it, first of all?
Rotolo. I think it just means rolled, you know, like a pasta rotolo. Basically, we've got some roast pork here that's been diced up.
Yeah.
So we're going to refry that, and we're going to put some veg in with it.
So does it need to be sort of well cooked, this? I mean, literally, as in slow roasted, that kind of stuff, or is it anything that's soft. You could do this with chicken and anything, really. That's what
You could do, yeah, but I mean, the thing is with chicken, it's too lean. You need a decent fat content. It's got to be a bit of fat in it.
Right.
So I put some carrots, some celery. You've got some...
I've got some tops of the fennel here.
You put some flat parsley in. Doesn't need to be picked amazingly well because it's all going to be blitzed up in the food processor.
There you go.
Chili
You've got to
flakes.
get that started.
Yep.
Right, so what's next then for this? Because this is a pasta dish, but one that we've never had this on the show before, particularly what we're going to do. We're going to basically just, like you said, Swiss roll sort of look to it.
Yeah, roll it up. It's a good way... I mean, it's a classic Italian pasta dish. And all pasta dishes are essentially as much about pasta as they are about the filling or the ingredients that go with them or the sauce. And this is no different.
So where do you get your ideas from nowadays? Because, I mean, food's evolved so much since we were both cooking in London, hasn't it, really? But
this dish was inspired by River Cafe, which is a legendary Italian restaurant in London. And I saw the recipe for it many years ago, about 15 years ago. And they poach it, the pasta raw, and with the filling. Well, I just blanched the pasta. Someone said to me a while ago, why are you doing it raw when you can just do it blanched and roll it up?
now you're on about the pasta. The pasta we've actually done. So you can tell us about the recipe we've got here. So what's the recipe for your pasta?
I use a standard recipe, an industry standard recipe that most chefs seem to know. It's 550 grams of 00 pasta flour, which is a fine pasta flour, and with 6 egg yolks and 4 whole eggs.
So, and then what we're going to do is you roll it out as a whole piece. That's the key to this. I know you want to get that cooking, so...
And also to remember, trying to maximise the width of your pasta to the size of your pasta machine so you get the maximum width. Because what we're going to do, we're going to blanch this pasta in the water. I'm just going to put it in like this so it doesn't stick together. Yeah. And we can use 3 sheets of this pasta. And what we're going to do, we're going to overlap them on cling film and make a large sheet and then spread the pork over the top and then roll it up.
The way that you put it in the water is quite important, isn't it, really?
Yeah, otherwise it'll stick together and it'll be really hard to sort of get it apart. As long as it touches the water without touching itself first, it's fine. So we put 3 of these in. So
now I know you've got chilli flakes in, because the last time you were here, you're a big fan of those as well. You were sticking those with sausages and gnocchi and all that kind of stuff that you do.
Well, it's just an essential ingredient for me. Chilli, garlic, very Italian.
So you're just basically blanching those, not thoroughly cooking them?
Well, it is, yeah, it's cooked, but I mean, fresh pasta takes, a minute to cook, so what I do, I lay some cling film out on here.
Yep. Now I'm going to do a little sort of sauce to go with this. Now, it's been busy times for you at the Hardwick. Anybody that hasn't been there, an amazing sort of pub. You've had a group of chefs there recently as well doing...
We had a fantastic gala dinner, which was on the Friday, before the Abergavenny Food Festival. And we're doing it again this year, on the 19th of September. And James is going to be joining me again with Andrew Pern, Ben Tish again, Dominic Chapman, and Kevin Grattan, who's the executive chef for Mark Hicks. Yeah. And we're going to do another 6-course dinner. And it was fantastic. We raised money for Haggis Charity, a fantastic charity in Wales that raises... it's got a respite home for sufferers of early onset Alzheimer's. And Nigel O'Sullivan from Fine Wines Direct, he's fantastic, supplied our wines, and it was a great all-round night.
Going to be busy by the sounds of things.
Yeah. He didn't ask me before this.
I didn't, did I?
Just come for a meal, right. So anyway, I'm going to take this mixture now, and you want this blended, don't you, this one now?
We want to blend it.
Yeah.
I haven't really salted. Can you season it for me, please?
Season that, yeah.
What I'm going to do is this pasta's been refreshed, and we need to drain it off using a tea towel.
You don't want it too fine, though, do you, this?
It doesn't matter, to be honest with you, James. It doesn't need to be too chunky, otherwise it'll be hard to spread around.
Right. And what happens if it's too sort of wet?
You can add some breadcrumbs. Right. Because you don't want it to be too wet, otherwise it'll be quite hard. There's some breadcrumbs here if it's a bit wet.
No, that's all right. And you want some lemon zest in there as well?
Yeah, lemon zest would be good. Right. Needs to have that lemon, though. A whole lemon zest would be great.
It's all right.
So I'll just get this pasta. Right.
Now, this is the important bit, so I'll leave this with you. So go on. You can show us this bit.
So basically, just lay it out on the cling film. You've got to do that, obviously, for each sheet of pasta. If you've got a wider pasta machine, you probably only need 2 sheets, but most domestic pasta machines are this wide. And there's another thing, it's a good thing, because a lot of people have got pasta machines and don't really use them because they're maybe a bit sort of shy of using them. They've been bought them as a gift. Yeah. A bit of colour on that on leaf.
Yeah, we're going to make a quick sauce with that. I'll crack on with that.
Bit of chicken stock on there. We'll reduce that. Once that's reduced, some chopped chives and a bit of cream.
OK, I'll be on with that. Right, there's that mixture, so you carry on to do your pasta. So you really need them as wide as possible, this one?
Absolutely, because it just makes... You've got to roll it up, so you need something to be able to roll. And just overlap them slightly so they stick together.
Got the other one. There you go.
Thank you.
There you go.
And the other thing we're going to do this year, we're going to... Jason Atherton suggested that we should do a Coast sort of reunion dinner at the Hardwick. Yeah. With myself, himself, Ben Tish, who worked at Coast.
This is where you all used to work at?
Yeah, and Hal Jones, the executive chef at Lucknow Park. Yeah. And so we're going to plan that. We haven't got a date yet in the diary. We're waiting on Jason. He's the busiest one out of all of us. So
he's opening restaurants all over the place. He keeps popping in here and then flying off sort of Asia again, really.
Just trying to find a time when Jason's in the country.
Right, this is fantastic now.
So we put this on here, like so.
So while you're spreading that out, remember, if you'd like to put your questions to either Stephen or James today, then you call us now on this number. That's 033 0123 1410. That's 033 0123 1410. Calls, remember, charge at your standard network rate. Right.
So a bit more cling film over the top. So you need a bit of cling film for this recipe.
Right, all I've done with the fennel is I've just thinly sliced it, put in a bit of ice.
Yeah, it gets nice and crunchy.
Yeah, some of the chives are going to go in there into a little salad, and then the other ones are going to go into the chicory that's reducing down as well. A lot of people cook with chicory that much, but it is fantastic.
I love it. I love that bitterness. So we using the rolling pin on top of the cling film.
Yep.
Makes it so much easier to roll it out. So bring it down to the bottom so you've got something to start with. It doesn't have to go as wide because you're going to trim it off anyway. Yeah. Like so. Like that.
People will be just waking up from their hangover thinking, what on earth are we doing?
All will be
revealed. It is fantastic, this.
OK.
This is where you can mix and match. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But using a pair of scissors, because otherwise if you use a knife, you'll cut through the cling film. Trim off the excess pasta. That'll do.
OK.
And this is the... so just start it off.
This is where you get the idea of a Swiss roll from.
Yeah. Fold it over. So with a Swiss roll, you'd use the tea towel underneath the sponge to sort of help roll it up. You can use the cling if you want.
James is watching this thinking, I'll stick that on the menu. That'll do.
Well, you can use it as a garnish for a dish.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you get a little rip like that, because what happens is you're just rolling it inside anyway. Just make sure it's quite nice and tight. And this will have to go in the fridge. It needs to go in the fridge for about 20 minutes. Like so, and then wrap it up in the cling film. Again, you know, it doesn't have to be... It doesn't matter if it comes out the end. Like so. I'm just cutting them in half. Not that one. Use your posh knife, isn't it? There we are. So it looks like that, but it's got to chill down. So I'll get that in the fridge.
And then I've just basically just dusted these with a little bit of flour. This is what you want. So how long will you leave this to sort of rest then, really, in the fridge?
Oh, you've got one there?
Yeah, I've got it there for you.
Ooh,
just in flour.
Way ahead of me.
I've got to be, otherwise Football Focus will be on next.
Bit of olive oil.
How long would that go in the fridge for then? A couple of hours?
No, 20 minutes.
20 minutes, Celio?
Yeah. So I need to get some colour on them.
So the sauce is reducing down. That's that chicory. And then we've got our little salad here with some lemon juice, some oil, a few little bit of herbs in there, and then you want some herbs in this one as well. So you're just basically just colouring this on...
Yeah.
Lemon juice going in there
as well. Lemon juice. And needs some salt as well.
OK. I'll season that up. Yeah.
There we are.
OK. Do you want a little bit of butter in there to colour it, or not? You just
put a bit of butter in if you like a bit of butter in there.
Like a bit of butter? It's a bit of an understatement.
So as they colour, like so. A bit of salt. I'll just drain some of that fennel off.
So you almost bring this down to like it's dry, not really. It's like a sauce, really. This one.
Yeah, it's just a nice. I mean, you can put it on a bed of salad if you wish, but I think.
Ready when you are.
I like endive. It's a nice contrast to the filling.
I say a lot of people just put it in salads, but cooking with it, it's fantastic.
I cook a lot of salads.
Braising it with orange juice and that kind of stuff is lovely.
I'm not a big salad fan, but I like it cooked.
Cloth, there you go.
Thank you. Pop those on there. We'll just put 3 on, I think. And then some of the fennel salad.
Looking good.
Nice
I thought we were getting alphabet spaghetti for breakfast. You know, you see that with that.
There we are.
It's a bit fancy. So tell us the name of this dish.
Pork pasta rotolo and creamed endive with a nice crispy salad of fennel.
How good does that look?
Thank you.
And you get to dive into this. This looks brilliant, doesn't it? Wow. Right, dive into that. Tell us what you think of that one. I've never had this before, like this. Have you seen that before?
I haven't. I think it's a great thing. Like Stephen said, great for a garnish as well in a restaurant.
It goes well with so many different things. We should fill it full of game, anything, really.
It's a great way using, your pork cup. We do it with we make fish and chicken mousses and put it in, and then you have to cook it.
Yeah.
But again, it's fantastic. Using your fish trim up to make a mousse to put it in.
That's amazing.
It's really good.
Lovely
isn't
and
it?
crispy, isn't it?
And the little bit of chilli flakes to spice it up makes all the difference.
Got to have some chilli.
There you go. Right, we need some wine to go with this. We sent our wine expert Tim Atkin to Kent this week. It was very wet and very windy, so what do you find to go with Stephen's stunning Rotolo?
I've come to Deal Castle on the Kent coast, built by Henry VIII in the 1530s. As you can see, it's a wet and windy day, so I'm heading to the warmth of the high street to find some great wines for this week's dishes. Stephen, I feel I have to choose an Italian red wine with your pork rotolo. Not just because I'm matching local with local, but because the combination of acidity, tannin and fruit sweetness, which is common to most Italian red grapes, is perfect with every element of this dish. Now, you could go with something like this Aglianico from the wonderful volcanic mountain of Voutere, close to the boot heel of southern Italy. It's a fantastic wine, but it's just a little bit too firm for this dish. So I'm going to choose something lighter and more harmonious. It's the 2010 Winemaker's Selection Chianti Reserve. Italy has a greater array of red grape varieties than any other country in the world. There are hundreds of them. The interesting thing is a lot of them are very localised. One exception to the rule would be Sangiovese, which is the grape of central Italy, particularly of Tuscany. Now, it's the variety behind Brunello di Montalcino, Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, and of course, Chianti, which is what we have here. On the nose, getting some red fruit, a touch of leather, and a herbal undertone, which works really nicely with the endives and the fennel. On the palate, this is quite delicate. And think of Sangiovese as Italy's Pinot Noir, but with a savoury twist. The acidity in the wine is a perfect foil for the olive oil and the lemon juice, those staples of Italian cooking, and cuts through the texture of the pork. The hint of bitterness goes really nicely with the creamed endive and gives the wine enough structure to partner the weight of the pasta. And the fruit sweetness takes some of the heat out of those chili flakes. Stephen, porky pasta and a glass of Chianti, the perfect Italian combination. Cheers.
Cheers indeed. Well, we're all diving in. However, I've been criticised, but apparently I've got a hair there, so I'm going to pull it out. That's Tom on camera 3. It's the first time you've been in focus for 7 years. Look at that. Apparently it'll upset all the people buying new big TVs in Curry's at Christmas time, you know, that's in the sales. Anyway, over to the wine. You happy now? Yeah, he's happy. Right, what do you reckon?
It's delicious. I would have naturally gone for like a heavy white, but this, the works beautifully because it's a light red wine.
I think with this, it works fantastically well. Actually. An amazing sort of tasting dish as well. So many different flavours.
It's lovely. The flavours are... The pork is really brought out by the flavours, and the pasta isn't heavy. Sometimes in pasta dishes, the pasta is really heavy, but it sort of sinks into the background. And it's
lovely.
Absolutely lovely.
That goes really well with that little bit of chilli in the pork as well. It goes really well.
Brings it alive. There you go. Coming up, James was showing us a great way to use up any frozen gooseberries, and I believe we've got a little bit of ketchup.
Indeed.
With something. What are you going to put with it?
We're going to do a salt beef hash cake with gooseberry ketchup and a fried egg and some crispy pickled onion rings.
That's what we're going to do. And don't forget, you can ask James or Stephen a question if you call this number. That's 033 0123 1410. That's 033 0123 1410. Standard call charges do apply, of course. Now it's time to head off to India to join Rick Stein on his search for the perfect curry recipe. Now, he's off to Madras shortly, but first he's got one final meal in Calcutta to enjoy. And he's going up market for this one. Even the fish is dressed up. While you have a look at this, I'm going to pull more hairs out of my chest.
Remember this for a long, healthy life. Rice, vegetables and fish. I really think so. I'm going to a restaurant that specialises in Bengali cuisine. In fact, it was one of the first restaurants to specialise. It's called QP's, and anyone who's been to Calcutta more than once will know about it. It's fairly upmarket, and the Rui fish will be one of the top things on the menu. The owner is Raki Dasgupta.
This is Rui, and it's dressed like this when it goes from the girl's family to the groom's family. It's called Bo Bhat. She is going to cook for her in-laws. So it's very symbolic that she's a good cook.
Good idea.
Yeah?
Very important.
Very good idea.
So, Raki, I'm told that we start with turmeric.
With all fish in Bengal, we
Yeah.
normally put turmeric and salt. It's like an antiseptic.
Yes.
And then I rub it nicely into the fish. I'm going to now heat some oil in a pan.
What sort of oil?
It's mustard oil. Just leave it.
This is the heart of Bengali cuisine, making these mustard seeds into a paste with the chilli. And this is called a shil nora. It's like a mortar and pestle. Shil is the flapstone, Nora is the roller. The process, just adding water, is very gentle, and eventually you end up with this, a creamy, pungent paste.
That's really interesting. It's like, I've never seen that sort of frying a liquid before, but presumably it'll thicken up now.
Yep. And I return my fish.
Well, that is fascinating. I've never seen a dish cooked like that before. Twice cooked like that. Wow.
How do you like it?
I like it well. It's got a lot of flavour. And the sauce, love the coriander in it, love the lemon, like the mustard. Straight in my book.
Absolutely.
I thought I'd cook a curry similar in style and taste to the one my mother made all those years ago.
That Anglo-Indian cooking is a bit sort of looked down on these days. But those curries were a great source of affection to me and lots of people. And, of course, during the British Raj period, you couldn't go on a railway journey or you couldn't go into an officer's mess without getting a menu that contained dishes like this. But as I said, I'm going to make my own. So I thought, well, it had to be beef and it had to have onions in it. But then I would make up my own Madras curry powder. So first of all, I'm going to put some butter, ordinary butter, in a very hot pan.
I'm browning this braising steak, which is how we start a stew back home, but not the way Indians would start a curry. They wouldn't bother browning the meat first.
Just thinking how curry caught on back home in Britain, it took a while because in the 18th century, stews were regarded as lower orders dishes, and therefore a curry which was seen as a stew didn't really catch on till the 19th century. And there's a very, I think, quite amusing piece in Vanity Fair where the infamous heroine Becky Sharp tries to ingratiate herself with an Anglo-Indian family by saying, yes, I like curry, and then it describes how she suffered the tortures of cayenne pepper. Of course, she knew nothing about curries, so they give her a chilli to cool her down, and because it's called a chilli, she thinks it is a cooling vegetable, which, of course, it's not.
Well, there was much laughter around the table at poor Becky's expense. And let's face it, we've all done it in Indian restaurants, suffered from too much chilli. Now, onions, and all the onions over here are red unless anyone tells me otherwise. Garlic, 3 to 4 cloves, roughly chopped.
So now the spices, and here it gets interesting because, of course, I'm not using a rather old curry powder. First of all, some lovely bright reddy orange chilli, about a teaspoon of that. And now some also lovely bright yellow turmeric, teaspoon of that. And now I'm going to put a lot of garam masala in, about a tablespoon and a half. And this is my own garam masala. We've got black pepper, we've got coriander, we've got cumin, we've got cloves, we've got cardamom, and we've also got, let me remember, nutmeg and cinnamon. Smells delicious, that. This is the difference. This is what makes my British Raj curry a bit better than I suspect you might have had in the 19th or indeed early 20th century.
Salt, 2 teaspoonfuls, and then water.
And now we're going to add 2 very important ingredients which really bring it back to my mother's curry. First of all, not desiccated coconut that she would have used, but freshly grated coconut. And secondly, some lovely plumptious sultanas. But this is now going to have to cook for an hour and a half. So see you later. If I can find the lid, I'll put that on.
All those years the British were in India played a big part in our gastronomic life at home. Kedgeree is still a great breakfast dish, and there wouldn't be Worcester sauce without the Raj, or chutney for that matter, mulligatawny soup, or piccalilli. Christmas without piccalilli? Meanwhile, back to my curry.
That is lovely. Wow, I'm very happy with that. And this sort of reminds me of going out to pubs in the 60s and 70s and ordering it. And you'd always get desiccated coconut, very important, slices of banana, but most important, most exotic, your poppadoms. Lovely.
I have to agree, it's not a proper curry without poppadoms. Now, Rick's Curry Search is in India, but one of my favourite all-time curries. It actually comes from further east in Thailand. It's a green curry, Thai green curry, and it's actually really simple when you know, and you've got all the ingredients that I've got in there to make your own curry paste, really, and that's what we're going to do now. I know you love your scallops as well, Chris, so we're going to serve that with a little scallops. First thing I'm going to do is get the puree on, first of all, or the paste for this, and to do that we take a little bit of shallot, just a touch, and then we use this stuff, which is galangal, which is like it's almost like a fragrant ginger. You can get this in the supermarkets nowadays, but you basically just thinly slice it. And what we're going to do is we're going to puree all these ingredients. So have a smell of that. It's like ginger, but a bit more fragrant, really. Now, these are called Kaffir Lime leaves. You can get these dried or frozen nowadays. A lot of the time in the supermarkets, they're dried, but you can still use them exactly the same. They look like that, little lime leaf, and you break them. It's got a beautiful smell of sort of lime mixed together.
Like a Kaffir lime?
Yeah, Kaffir lime, that's what they are. There you go. And then we're going to put in some chilli, a little bit of chilli, and then some lemongrass. Now, the thing is with this lemongrass, you've got to chop it quite sort of fine, really, to start off with. Although we're going to blend it, we're going to make a puree out of it. So chop all that lot quite fine, and the whole lot's going to get thrown in the blender. Now, you're used to ingredients like this because you were brought up in Hong Kong for part of your childhood, weren't you?
Well, yeah. My father was in the RAF, so we got to travel quite a bit when I was younger. It was more my teenage years, so I was schooled in England, but then I would go out there for holidays. And then after I left school, I worked out there for a bit as well. I worked at the old airport that Kai Tak Airport that stretches out into the harbour.
It is a crazy place. I went there for the first time last year. It's a fascinating place, but crazy place, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing place. It's such a melting pot of China and Western influences. And I'd love to go back, actually. I haven't been back since the handover in '97, so it would be amazing to go back and see it again.
Well, what I'm going to do is basically just make a little paste out of this, a little bit of oil going on here, and we start off by making this paste. We just blend it all up, really. You can add some of this. This is this little Thai fish sauce going in there at the start, just a tiny little bit. But really, you can make this in advance, and that's your simple little paste. And then what we're going to do is fry this just in a touch of oil, just to get this started. And really, it's quite quick from then on, really. You grab some of this paste. This will keep really nicely as well. There you go. So all that goes into our little pot here. Fry this only for about 30 seconds. And then we can start to add the rest of it, which obviously we've got our coconut milk. Let it go in. And then we're going to put in the palm sugar and everything else, the coriander and the lime, and just gently simmer this to cook out all the spices. But of course, coming back to the UK, fell in love with acting. But there isn't, I don't think there's an actor or an actress that hasn't been on the show, that hasn't been in the bill.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're an English actor...
I was looking through the bio. Have you been in it?
I've been in it twice.
Twice? What did you play?
First time I played a 16-year-old jewel thief who had a congenital kidney complaint. Which is I'm 6'3",
right?
And the arresting policeman was about 5'2".
Right.
I'm trying to pass myself off as a 16-year-old. It was ridiculous. And the second time I played someone who was obsessed with a part of Ladies' Anatomy.
Right, OK. Anyway, moving on. So, but literally, we've got to put these little pea aubergines in. So these are these tiny little aubergines. They go in there as well. But it was in 2000 that we saw you in. Was it My Family? That was the one that really sort of launched your career, would you say? Yeah, to a wider audience?
That was my sort of breakthrough on TV. I'd already sort of been doing a lot of theatre and worked for the National and stuff. And also I'd done a couple of sort of low-budget films. But that was my real breakthrough. Yeah.
That was the one. But, I mean, films as well. You're one of these actors that manages to do a little bit of both, really. Quite lucky to get sort of because often you get sort of compiled into television and then sort of ignore film, but you kind of do a little bit of everything, still do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I love to do films, I love to do theatre, but theatre's like gigging for a musician, you know. If you don't do it, I haven't done it for 6 years, and I really need to go back on stage, because if you don't do it, you get a bit lazy, you get a bit flabby.
Would you say that helps you in all the things that you're doing now, really? Because you're doing, I mean, acting, of course, on television, but it's very, very different. Would you say that's really the key to it, theatre?
I think mixing it up, generally, is just, you know, the key to it. Try and do as many different things as possible.
So what's next for you, then? Because Obviously, Death in Paradise. You're taking over from Ben Miller now. What are we in the programme?
Third episode is on Tuesday night,
Yeah.
BBC One, 9 o'clock.
Well remembered.
Oh, thank you very much. Been drilled into me. And third episode. So it's it was a sort of very transitional one. I've never joined an existing show before, so it was a new experience for me. And also quite a sort of different sort of pressure because it was already a very popular show, and that was massively, in large part, thanks to Ben.
Yeah.
And to sort of take Ben out of that and sort of put this new guy in, it was not without its pressures. It could only really go south, but so far, at least, it seems to have been doing really well.
But we had Ben on the show. He doesn't really like the sun, he was saying, really, so...
Yeah, he's not great with the sun or the heat.
What did he do? Take it for the money? What did he do?
I think he spent a lot of time in air-conditioned cars.
Right.
In between shots, and then just run out, do a shot, and then get back in the air-conditioned car. I'm a bit better with the heat.
Because where do you film? Obviously Caribbean, but whereabouts do you film it?
We film on the island of Guadeloupe, sort of in the French West Indies. It's a French department, so it's sort of ostensibly sort of part of France, and they use the euro, and that's the currency.
It's a hard life, isn't it? Really?
It is tough. It is tough. But it's a lot different than the sort of English West Indies islands. It's very French. A lot of people walking around with baguettes and drinking espressos, and it's a beautiful island. It's split into two. It's in the shape of a butterfly, and sort of one side is very arid and flat, almost like a sort of Sahel, sort of savannah type area.
Yeah.
And the other side is volcanic and mountainous and full of rainforest, and that's the side we film. And it's not very populated either.
So you're spending your life all over the place at the moment because you've got, I mean, the film as well. You've got a new film out, Sparks and Embers, which is out later on this year.
Yeah, November, I think that'll be out.
Tell us about that then. What does that involve?
That's two-hander, which is a sort of different thing in itself. Just two actors on film for 90 minutes. It's quite, yeah. But it's a story about a record A&R man who gets fired from his company. And on his way out the building, he gets into the lift, and the woman who's just fired him gets in the lift as well, and the lift gets stuck.
Awkward.
A bit awkward. And then it cuts to 5 years later, and they meet in a bar, and she says, "I'm leaving you for another man in France."
Awkward.
Also awkward. French actress Annelise M plays the girl. She's a wonderful French actress. So you know they got together, and you know they broke up, but you don't know how. And then the rest of the film sort of intercuts between the two storylines and unravels the story as it goes along. So it's sort of almost like a story in backwards, in reverse.
It must be great getting a script like that. Just literally just two actors.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, it was almost like a play. We shot one scene was 17 pages long, and we did it in one shot. And a lot of that sort of is retained in the film. So it's kind of almost like a sort of play, sort of on celluloid.
Fantastic. Well, there's your little Thai curry for you. As soon as we've got all these fancy chefs in here.
That just sets it off.
That's another 12 quid. You get to dive into this.
How
You've got a
long
knife there if you want to slice
okay.
it. There you go. But literally the scallops, you just pan fry for about 30 seconds.
Okay,
I've just poached them in the liquid as well. But that's the Thai curry paste that we made as well and just blended. So you can have it as hot as you want just by putting more chilies in it, really. But you've got cumin and coriander in there.
Oh, wow.
And done in about 7 minutes.
That's amazing.
Easy as that. Right, now, this year we're teaming up with the Radio 4 Food Programme for their Food and Farming Awards. We're getting behind the Best Food Producer category, which is open to anybody who produces any kind of food, whether it's pork or beef, bread or butter, cheese or chocolate. If you want to nominate somebody, simply go to our website, bbc.co.uk/food awards. Monday is the closing date for nominations, so it's your last chance to get to enter your favourite food producer. We'll be featuring some of the best producers and entries later on in the year. So what we'll be cooking for Chris at the end of the show. Looks like he's going to fill this up. Anyway, all there. He could be getting his food heaven, that chicken. The chicken is sautéed with shallots, garlic, bacon and wild mushrooms. Then I'm going to add some cream, Madeira chicken stock and gently simmer it and serve with a buttery mashed potato and some French beans on the side. Or Chris could be facing food hell, of course, that tuna. I'm going to sear the tuna steak on a hot griddle along with slices of watermelon. They're served together with a pickled ginger puree, a spicy pickled ginger puree, with some radishes and some salad leaves on the top. Some of our viewers and the chefs in the studio get to decide Chris's fate, but you have to wait to the end of the show to see the final results. Right, it's time to enter the world of Celebrity MasterChef. Later, Greg and John will eliminate the first person from the competition, but the hopefuls have to jump through some more hoops first. Take a look at this.
Welcome back to the MasterChef kitchen. We have got for you a good, old-fashioned MasterChef invention test with a difference. We want you to work in pairs, and we want a main course and a dessert.
A bit of sophistication, guys. Something which shows Greg and I that you've learnt so far in the competition and actually you've got a bit of love and passion for it. There's your ingredients. We're going to give you 10 minutes to think about it.
Okay, what's that? Turmeric.
Their ingredients include prawns, bread, peppers, courgettes, quinoa, pomegranates, mascarpone, chocolate, and a selection of herbs.
How do you feel about making a prawn curry? Oh, a small prawn curry.
Pie and a bit of mascarpone on the side dish.
We've got bread. Okay.
Bread and butter pudding, yeah.
Right. You've had your time to think about it. 1 hour and 10 minutes. Let's cook.
But Joe...
Yeah, you don't need to put it in there because you're going to pour it on there.
I can filter it.
Are you two arguing?
Not really, no.
Teamwork, obviously. Great day today.
Yeah.
2 dishes. What are you going to cook for us?
Well, I'm doing a bread and butter pudding for dessert.
And then we're doing spicy prawns in a cream sauce with sliced fried potato.
What do you think you're getting out of the competition, Joe?
I think a lot more about my presentation than I've ever thought.
I'm not going to ask Janet about her presentation.
Well,
Worth it.
tell you what, John, I'm going to make an effort.
Hey!
But whether my level of presentation meets your unbelievably picky standards, I just don't know.
Katie and Heidi, tell me exactly what your dish is.
This is going to be a prawn curry, and we're going to do some quinoa as a side dish.
Dessert is Katie.
I'm going to try and make a lemon tart.
How do you feel about MasterChef now? Is your confidence growing at all?
I'm not shaking today, which is a bonus. Because when I come in this kitchen, I doubt everything that I'm doing. And I've got lovely Katie. You're going, yeah, you are supposed to do that. That's OK.
Right, you don't... I might be wrong. But if we're wrong, we'll be wrong together.
Yeah.
Bake it and hope for the best, I suppose.
You've got just 15 minutes left.
To clean this up.
This is your final 5 minutes. Get it on a plate. Time's up. That's it.
Joe and Janet have made a prawn curry with peas, coriander and potato chips, served with a rocket and pomegranate salad and a papaya and tomato chutney.
I believe those potato crisps should go on this oblong plate. They most certainly shouldn't be decorated around the outside of a rim of a curry. I know you're having a go-at presentation, I don't want to tell you off for it, but that looks too amateurish. I really like the creamy richness and base of curry that you've got around your prawns. Love that. Prawns are overcooked. They're going a little bit like cotton wool.
OK.
But flavours, great.
My favourite thing from this, though, is this chutney, which I don't think should work. Papaya, tomatoes, onions and vinegar, and I don't know how you've done it, but actually it's really lovely and tasty and goes very well with the curry. Rocket and pomegranate doesn't really belong, but it's a nice little salad.
For dessert, they have made an orange and chocolate bread and butter pudding served with cream.
I looked at your pudding and I thought it was going to be really dry and there wasn't enough custard. I was completely wrong. In the bottom of your pudding, there's a lovely, sweet, rich egg custard. The lemon for me is a little bit weird in the background, but bitter orange with the sweet chocolate and the rich custard and that sort of seedy, oaty bread is an interesting combination.
I don't like pleasing men, it just goes against the grain. But I realise in the current situation I've got to.
Janet, you crack me up.
Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
Heidi and Katie's main course is a prawn curry with courgettes and almonds, served with roast pepper and tomato quinoa.
I really love the look of the curry. I love the colour and the green of the coriander scattered across it. Your curry is creamy, smooth. It's got seasoning of curry powder, so it gives it a little bit of heat. The prawns are well cooked, still got a little bit of give to them. Very nice. The quinoa, it's salty, it's sharp, with a little bit of acid from lemon juice. It's got the sweetness of the roast pepper and the sharpness of the tomato, and I like the flavour. I'm really pleased.
To follow, they have made a lemon tart, which has a chocolate layer at the bottom, accompanied by a pomegranate mascarpone cream.
Right. Very, very ambitious lemon tart. I find it quite pleasant. Left to my own devices, I'd probably munch the living daylights out of your little tart. Very, very nice.
Excuse me?
I think you're giggling because you're happy.
Oh, well, I'm relieved. That was threatening to go very wrong.
You know what? I've got to say, you two, I think you worked really, really well.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your efforts. Go and get a cup of tea. We'll get you back soon for your second test.
And you can see what the next test is and who Greg and John send home in about 20 minutes or so. Still to come this morning on Saturday Kitchen Live. Ken Hom and Chinky Yuan are heading to the city of Chengdu in western China. They're preparing a feast of stir-fried rabbit with spicy sausage to share with a local foodie family. Stephen may be the champion of Welsh cooking, but today he's come up against one of Yorkshire's back of the neck finest and Michelin-starred chefs, James Mackenzie. By egg, he's got no chance. that was the best one in 7 years. I think 7 years we've waited for our producer to come up with that. It's brilliant. That's the Saturday Kitchen Omelette Challenge, live a little later on. We'll crispy facing food heaven, that chicken in Madeira and cream sauce with mashed and French beans. All food hell, seared tuna steak with watermelon and pickled ginger puree. Right, up next, and cooking for the first time on Saturday Kitchen is my fellow Yorkshireman, James Mackenzie. On the menu today is what, Chefy?
We are doing a dish with some salt beef. So it's the brisket of beef.
That's the
raw bit. And then it's been in a brine for about a week. And then you cook it the same as ham and boil it and simmer it. It takes about 4 or 5 hours, depending on the size.
Now, we're going to do it into sort of, what, like a little hash, this thing? Or
yeah, a little hash cake. So like a posh bubbling squeak, really.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, so with a fried egg and a gooseberry ketchup. It's one of them, like Stephen using up the pork, so using up all things like the pork and the gooseberries.
Sounds pretty good. Now, this is the finished article, which we're going to get the guys to have a little taste of as well.
I'm just going to put this on a little plate.
There
we go. So you guys can have a little taste of that.
So that's brined and then cooked as well. You cook it like ham, really, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly the same. Yeah. And then we'll just a bit of string on there.
Now, I mentioned the top about the pub, the pipe and glass.
Indeed.
Going from strength to strength, you know.
We've been there.
Katie Award winner, Industry Award winner as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. You know, winning awards is a great thing, great motivation for all our staff who work hard all the time. And us, we've been there 8 years in March, so turned it around a lot in that time.
Yeah.
So, and then winning a Katie Award, it's great to be recognised by all your peers, really. So you're just putting the onion in there that we're going to sweat off for the actual...
for the
hash cake.
Yeah. So that's got some fresh thyme and onions in. We've got some already sweated and cooled.
And then that's just some dry mashed potato in there. So the best way to do the mashed potato for this is to bake the potatoes and take it out of the skins and mash it like that, and then you end up with a really nice dry mash. So use a good potato, a good floury potato like a Maris Piper or something like that.
Now you cook this down for what? About 10 minutes and we end up with what?
Yeah, you want them softened, so just a little bit of colour on there and it just adds a flavour. And then we've got these spring onions that add the bit of fresh flavour, a little bit of colour in there as well.
Now I'm going to get on and do our little gooseberry sort of ketchup. Onions, 2 types of sugar you're putting in here?
Yeah, the brown one just gives it a little bit more of a kind of molasses kind of taste. And then there's the gooseberries. You can just put everything in. It's a little bit like making a gooseberry chutney, really. Yeah. Which, you know, using stuff up. You could use this. You could use rhubarb instead of gooseberries, which is bang in season. Which I've got a surprise for you, actually. You don't know about this, but I brought you a present. It's like a bunch of flowers all the way from Yorkshire.
Cheers. You shouldn't have.
Yeah. No, it really stood out.
But no, this is, look at that. No, it's
banging
fantastic.
season at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, this is banging season, isn't it, at the moment? This is the outdoor rhubarb. Fantastic. Famous for the Yorkshire rhubarb triangle, of course, which is diminishing, so we need to eat a lot more
12 growers
Yorkshire
now,
rhubarb.
so we're just going to put a little bit of seasoning. You don't need too much salt in here because there's salt beef in there. Then we'll chop some flat leaf parsley, and we're putting some lovage in, which lovage, member of the celery family, tastes really nice. And then we're going to put some grain mustard in there.
Yeah. And where's our spice going? Where do you want that?
That's in the gooseberry.
Gooseberries, okay.
Yeah.
Which spice is this then? What's this?
That's a mixed spice, so we've got the garlic in there and all the different spices, a little bit of Worcester sauce. Okay. And then we're going to boil it up so it's just like the chutney, like I say, and then you just press it through a sieve and you take the liquid off it. And then this is the gooseberry ketchup, all really nice with mackerel as well. We serve it with mackerel.
Right.
So, best way to mix this up, get your hand in. So, rather than using a spoon...
The ketchup is very similar to sort of a chutney, isn't it, really, in terms
yeah,
of
exactly.
what it is.
So we just mix that up there. And then we're going to do some crispy pickled onions. So they're just regular kind of pickled onions that you get on our bar at the pub, you know, the pipe and glass. So it's there, and just slice them up. You know, you don't need to use your fancy shallots.
So when did you start the pub then? How long ago has that been running?
2006, myself and Kate bought it, and we was there with just me and a couple of guys in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then Kate and a handful of people out front, and then here we are nearly 8 years later, and we employ over 40 staff now. We've got 2 let-in bedrooms, soon to be 5 this next year, hopefully. So just press that into a ring.
Yeah.
And then we're just going to get some out of the fridge that we've already done earlier. Just wash my hands there.
So if people want to do this with... I mean, you could buy salt beef anyway, already done.
Yeah, you can get it sliced and that in supermarkets, so it's just nice to get that big piece, and you can use it in all sorts of different ways. We have this a kind of version of the hash cake on as a garnish with fillet of beef at the minute, and put some salt beef through a watercress salad as well. So we've got our pan on there. We're just going to put some little bit of rapeseed oil in here. We use rapeseed oil for a lot of our cooking now, really.
Yeah.
And we use one made by my mate Adam. When my little son Toby was a baby, somebody said it's good for the skin, recommended it. Adam said it's good, can help it, so he used it for the skin. So I said to Kate, let's rub it on Toby, but he ended up smelling like a twiglet, so... we never did that again, needless to say, so...
Yorkshire sun cream, is it?
Yeah. So we got that there.
Right, the onions are not far off, and I'm going to blend that for you in a second. So I'll swap that over. If you put that on there, and you can cook that. I'll cook the rest of it. So these little sort of... You mentioned these little pickled onions you do as a nice little bar snack as well.
Yeah, you could use them as a canapé, as a bar snack, and it's just something different that people have in their store cupboard and maybe not thought about any other way of cooking pickled onions. You know, just eat them raw.
You like, onion rings with salt on, are nice, but, it's like salt and vinegar onion rings.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you get that, like, piquancy coming through of the...
you want a fried egg
so we're doing
there?
a fried egg, yep.
Come on, is
that?
Yeah.
There. So, yeah, we'll just check this. So there should be some colour on this.
Of course, we both of us actually share the same beginning in our careers, because we both went to Scarborough Technical College.
Indeed, yeah. I just started just after you left, which your name was still prevalent there when I was there, yeah. Oops. So, yeah.
And weren't you both Yorkshire Chef of the Year? Is that right? I heard a rumour that you were both Yorkshire Chef of the Year, something like that?
I think at college probably left,
College?
I had a hard
college
to follow
Chef of the Year?
Yeah, college Chef.
Did you get the trophy?
Yeah, I probably did.
Are you sure?
Know what it is now.
I don't think you did, because I've still got it in my toilet. I kept it. Yeah. But we were trained with the legend, which is Ken Allenson, who trained so many chefs at that particular time. And I'm sure Ken will be sat watching this saying, I wouldn't have done it like that, lad. I owe him, and particularly you do, I suppose, owe him so much the early part of your career, really.
Yeah.
So this is your little ketchup that we've got there.
Yep.
We just blend it all up.
It probably needs to be a little bit darker than that. If you do want to pass it, and then you can always put it back on the stove to caramelise it a bit more, so you end up with a nice dark coloured
You just cook it for longer then, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So the crispy onion rings, they'll stay crispy for quite a while. And,
right, we're ready to plate up then, I think.
Right, brilliant.
So I'll leave it with you.
So we'll get the plate over. So then you just pour that off, and then you can pour it into a sauce bottle, which we've done earlier. And then we'll just get the...
So if you want it thicker, you just reduce it down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay. Pretty good.
I could probably do with a little bit more colour on that, but it'll be fine for what we need it for today.
That's right. Looks pretty good to me.
And then we'll take that egg off
You want
there.
the egg?
Yep.
So do you.
And then I'm going to put some of the dots of the gooseberry ketchup. I can get this out. There we go. So just some dots of that. This is when it turns into the posh bit.
The fancy bit?
Yep, indeed. So this is when my hand starts to shake, like you said, for the first time. As soon as we put that
There's
on
only people who've got big TVs that'll see it.
Yeah, that's all right then. Just pretty much like that. Then we put some of the crispy onion rings on there. Then we're just going to garnish that with some...
Oh, you see? See, that's what it is, you see? Little sprig.
Little sprig of watercress on there.
You want a bit of black pepper there?
A bit of black pepper on there. And there we go.
That looks pretty good to me. Fantastic effort. First time on Set the Kitchen. Give us the name of this dish then.
So it's salt beef hash cake with fried egg, gooseberry ketchup and crispy pickled onion rings.
And even better, it's cooked by a Yorkshireman. And there we have it. Looks fantastic. Have a seat over here then, James. Dive into this one. Chris? Stephen, tell me what you think of that. Try the pickled onion rings. It's first for me. I've never tried. Have you tried doing these?
No,
pickled onion rings?
One of these, definitely. These sound great.
Like you said, bar snack would be fantastic.
Yeah. It's a great brunch dish or supper dish for all those hangovers on a Sunday morning.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's good, aren't they? Yeah.
Beautiful.
Happy with that? Right, we need some wine to go with this. We sent our wine expert, Tim Atkin. He's been to Deal in Kent. So what did he choose to go with James's smashing hash cake?
James, we've got a bit of a dilemma here. On the one hand, we've got the salt beef and the mashed potato, which would normally be served with a red wine. On the other hand, we've got some green flavours of the chives, the parsley, and especially those gooseberries. So do I match the texture of the salt beef and the mashed potato, or those acidic flavours of the gooseberries? I'm going to do the latter. And I've got a couple of possibilities here. We could go with something like this Rueda, from the high plateau of central Spain, made with the Verdejo grape, one of Spain's best whites. But I think I've got something that's even better. It comes from the Loire Valley, and it's the 2012 Touraine Sauvignon from the Domaine Jackie Marteau. Sauvignon Blanc is the great variety behind some of the Loire Valley's most famous wines, such as Sancerre and Puy-Fumé. Most of the time, the name of the grape variety doesn't appear on the label, but Touraine Sauvignon Blanc is an exception. And I tell you what, it's a really good, cheaper alternative to those two more famous white wines. On the nose, this has classic cool climate characters of gooseberry and elderflower that work really nicely with the ketchup, but also pick up on the parsley and the spring onion in the hash cake. On the palate, this is all about crisp, green, tangy flavours that work really nicely with the sourness of the gooseberries. The acidity cuts through the texture of the mashed potato, but also those deep-fried pickled onion rings. And even though it's a white wine, it works with the savouriness of the salt beef. James, this is one rich and tangy plate of food. Let's hope I haven't made a hash of the wine choice.
Well, has he? Because originally, sort of looking at this, wouldn't have chosen something like this, but I love Sauvignon Blanc, so I know it's going to work with this.
I am not a great fan of Sauvignon, but with this, it really works really well with the gooseberries and everything.
I think it's the gooseberries just lifts this, doesn't it, really? Great combination.
Yeah, it's good. It's cleansing, refreshing, and a perfect match for the gooseberries, absolutely.
Yeah, happy with that?
I could eat that all day long.
There you go. Right, let's get back to Celebrity Master Chef. All four women are now cooking to stay in the competition. They just need to make one more dish to impress Greg and John. So let's see what happened.
Over the last 2 days, these celebrities have faced some extreme challenges.
I haven't got a clue what to do with crab.
Oh, don't! I'll pick it off the plate.
But now only one test stands between them and a place in the next round.
This is the first time we get a chance to taste the food that you cook, that you love. Your own dish. So this is important. At the end of this, one of you is leaving the competition. One plate of food, 1 hour. Ladies, let's cook. Jo, what are you going to cook for us?
Chicken sliders, which are really just another name for chicken burger, with fresh tomato sauce, braised cabbage with goji berry, and French fry.
Your food intrigues me.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us about what you're going to cook for us.
I'm cooking a dish that I've cooked millions of times before at home, which is pheasant with celery, lentils and an apple.
How are you going to make a big pot of stew with some lentils look sexy?
John, I'm a big woman and I can look sexy if I want to.
What are you making for us?
I'm going to do a pan-fried sea bass fillet with a chilli salsa, a vegetable and garlic vermicelli, and some sesame pak choy.
Would you be more comfortable if you sang while you did things?
I'd be more comfortable if there's a little bit of music playing and my little dog was running around. I'd probably feel a bit better.
Ooh, Katie, what are you cooking for us?
An open chicken pie with some cold cannon and some cumin carrots.
What, you made your own puff pastry in 20 minutes?
Yeah, but I don't know if it's going to turn out right.
You're a cooking excitement junkie.
Yeah, I'm an extreme chef.
12 minutes.
You have just over 5 minutes left.
Guys, that's it. Stop, please, stop.
Janet's pheasant has been served on a bed of black cabbage, carrot and parsnip mash, with a stew of lentils, celery, juniper berries and walnuts in a cider stock.
I think it's seasoned beautifully. I like the bitterness coming from that black cabbage and the sweetness of your vegetables. Really good and gutsy. Not for the faint-hearted, that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe has made chicken sliders, small burgers stacked with crispy bacon, sitting on braised cabbage with goji berries, chips and a tomato sauce.
I think your burgers are made really, really well. I like your chips because they're tasty. I think the cabbage is inspired the way you cut it all up, almost like a sauerkraut. You've got crispy bacon, you've got a really nice tomato sauce, but for me, the prominent flavour is that coconut oil. It tastes like I'm walking down Manly Beach and I can smell suntan lotion everywhere.
You're a bit of an alchemist cook, aren't you?
Yeah. I quite like that, actually.
Yeah, I can see, Joe.
Very interesting, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie has made her own puff pastry to top her chicken and mushroom open pie and has served it with colcannon mash and cumin and thyme carrots.
Those carrots cooked with thyme are just superb. Still the sweetness of the carrot, still a little bit of texture, but the flavour of the herb, just great. Your colcannon with the cabbage, creamy, really well-seasoned mashed potato with the cabbage, really, really good. The only issue is you've got bigger flavours in your accompaniment than your pie. I'm not going to let that get in the way because I think to be cooking like this so early in the competition is great.
Thanks, Katie.
Thanks.
Heidi's dish is sea bass on vermicelli rice noodles and sesame pak choy, served with a spicy tomato salsa.
Heidi, your fish was cooked beautifully, absolutely beautifully. I mean, filleted beautifully, not a bone in sight. It's lovely. I love the spiciness of your little sweet cherry tomatoes and your chilli. But the issue you've got is underneath that is some vermicelli, which is rice noodles, and they're very, very bland. They need more flavour. And there's raw garlic in it, which is really potent. I just think that that salad underneath the fish lets the dish down.
Okay.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. If you could leave us while we'll have a chat, and we'll call you back in as soon as we made our decision. Thank you very much.
I continue to be impressed by these contestants.
Yeah.
There's some quality cooking there, John, and there's a real desire for this competition.
Who do you think's the strongest? Who do you think's the weakest? Thank you very much for your enthusiasm and your food so far in this competition.
The contestant leaving us is Heidi.
Sorry. Thanks very much, Heidi. Take care.
Bad luck, Heidi, and you can see which of the female celebrities follows Heidi out of the competition on next week's show. Right, it's that time to find out some of your foodie questions. Each caller is also going to help decide what Chris will be eating at the end of the show. So first on the line, we've got John from Kent. Are you there, John?
Yep, I'm here.
Hi there, what's your question for us?
I've got about just under a 4 kilo shoulder of hogget. It's about a week over being out of its lamb time. So I want to know how long to cook it for and what's the best way to do it.
Hogget, fantastic cut of meat. Steve, do you want to take this one?
Absolutely, yeah. Love hogget, it's good.
Yeah.
Good flavour. I would, it's about £9 in it, about 4 kilos.
It's about, yeah.
I'd put it in a roasting tray with some sort of roughly cut root vegetables, some rosemary, some garlic, celery, onion, leek, carrot. I'd put about a litre of water in there with it. I'd cover it with some parchment paper, then tin foil, and I put it in an oven for about, at about 130, 140, for probably about 5-6 hours, nice and slowly, slowly cooked. It will just fall off the bone.
And would you take the lid off at any point, or just cook it like that? Just
cook it like that, and then what you're left with, because the hogget's cooked in the water, you've made an amazing stock as well, which you can reduce down and make some sauce of that, or then take the meat off the bone and make something else with it. You know?
It is the best way. Shoulder, long and slow cooking. There you go.
Time.
Good luck with that one. What dish would you like to see at the end of the show? Heaven or hell?
Heaven. I don't like tuna.
Oh, there you go. That's why you've chosen heaven. There you go. And Sam from Beverley, are you there, Sam?
Yes.
Hi there, Sam. How old are you?
6.
6. What would you like to ask us?
How do you make Yorkshire curd tarts?
Well, I ain't got a clue, so I'll get James Mackenzie to do this one. James, go on then.
You need some curd, and then egg yolks, a little bit of nutmeg in there, a little bit of cream, and cook it in a flan-based sweet pastry case. For a little bit of a twist, you could put some dried cranberries in there instead of using sultanas, and then just bake it in oven probably about 45 minutes, and then great with a cup of tea. Good cup of tea of Yorkshire tea, obviously.
Yorkshire tea. And if you don't know how to do it, just go round the corner to the restaurant. He'll show you how to do it as well.
You can have a job if you want.
Yeah, exactly. 6 years up. Are you happy with that, Sam?
Yeah.
Curd, cheese, egg yolks, that kind of stuff, slowly in the oven. Are you happy with that?
Yes.
All right. You better phone us back to let us know how you get on.
Okay.
And what dish would you like to see, heaven or hell?
Heaven, please.
There you don't like tuna either. Okay. Rachel from the Wirral, are you there, Rachel?
Yes, hi.
Hi there. How old are you? Sorry, I'm only just...
Just over 6.
What would you like to ask us?
I'm having people for dinner tonight, and with it being Burns night, I'd like to do a haggis starter.
Who wants to take this?
Any ideas?
Haggis starter. We've got the haggis starter on tonight because obviously Burns night. My local butcher makes a haggis. Slice it like so thick, and then we pan it, which is, chefy terms for, flour, egg and breadcrumb. Yeah. Deep fry it just to colour breadcrumbs, pop it in the oven for a couple of minutes, and we do serve it with, neeps and tatties, because it's a classic garnish, but it's got a nice, crunchy sort of, texture to it, which makes it a little bit more interesting.
It is great deep fried as well,
it's brilliant. We deep fry it in... we put some juniper in it, a little bit of stock in it, moisten it up a little bit. You can add a drop of whiskey, and then we wrap it in brick pastry, which is a little bit like phyllo pastry, into almost like little samosa corn, little pasties. Then we deep fry that, and we serve it as a garnish with deer that we've got on at the minute, but it's great as a starter as well.
There you go, you've got 2 recipes there. What dish would you like to see, heaven or hell?
Oh, heaven for me. I quite like the Madeira sauce.
It's looking pretty good, there you go. Right, it's the omelette challenge time. Paul Rankin is still at the centre of our board, 17.5 seconds. We've got Stephen Terry on here, 23 seconds. Out of all the chefs on here, Mr Mackenzie, who would you like to beat? 2 of chefs on here.
To be on the board and you not to put it in the bin, that would be a bonus.
Okay, that's the key. So, usual rules apply. 3 egg omelette cooked as fast as you can. I know you've been practising, because I phoned the restaurant. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. It's the concentration you see on their faces.
That's not supposed to be nice.
You were making sure, were you, there? Right, this one.
Shocking.
This one, what's going on here?
That's the bit I didn't need. That's the bit I needed, that bit there. Yeah, one of those. Beautiful.
Are you happy with this?
Well, I wouldn't send it out at the price of that.
Honest Yorkshireman?
I don't think any of my kids would eat that.
So, James, I do like the picture. Look at that.
Yeah.
Been airbrushed. Look at that. Right. You are on the board. Where do you think you are, though?
Near the bottom somewhere.
Don't bother looking up here. You are 31.96, which puts you in good company right next to Mr. Rick Stein, right there.
I'm happy with
so,
that.
good effort.
That's all right.
Stephen Terry.
It wasn't quicker, that's for sure.
You're not quicker. You did it in 27.04, which you can take home. There you go. So there you go. Will Chris get his idea of food heaven? That chicken with mushrooms and cream Madeira sauce. It's looking likely in it, or he could be getting food hell. That seared tuna steak with watermelon and pickled ginger. Our chefs will make their choices whilst watch Ken Hom and Ching Hee Wan explore the fascinating world of food in China. Now, they're in western China today, in Chengdu, a city that Ken hasn't been to for many years, and their guide, Jenny, is taking them to meet a family. Enjoy this one.
Chengdu is at the center of the government's Go West policy. It's invested $300 billion to spark an economic boom in Western China, on a par with Beijing and Shanghai. Jenny's been kind enough to invite us to her grandparents' home, where she spent her early childhood. It's exciting for me, as I've always believed the best cooking is in the home, and a taste of family life is a great way to get beneath the skin of a city.
Visit. So these are my grandparents. My grandfather.
Jenny's grandparents are in their 80s, and as is traditional in Chinese culture, one of their sons lives at home and takes care of them with his wife, Jenny's aunt.
My grandmother's
chilly, isn't it?
Yeah. So the reason why it's so cold indoors is because there's no central heating in Sichuan.
There isn't?
South of the Yangtze, all of the provinces don't actually have central heating.
So do they wear coats indoors then?
Yes, exactly.
When
And in
it's
the winter,
winter?
everyone wears coats, scarves, hats, the whole thing.
Thank
So
God
my-
for the walk and cooking then.
While Ching gets to know the family, I really want to see the local market and join Jenny's aunt on her daily trip to buy fresh ingredients. I've always loved markets, and in China, they're a particular pleasure. Chaotic, and despite the government's pledge to improve food safety, I can't see many fridges.
Oh, you see this fish steak live? Live. This is how Chinese want freshness. Look at this fresh frogs.
这是鱼，还有鳝鱼都在里面。对。
Turtles, of course. Shark.
I spotted some rabbit, a specialty in Sichuan. As soon as we return, Jenny's aunt gets straight to work on the lunch. I'm making a simple rabbit stir-fry, but you could use chicken for this dish. I'm using a marinade of soy sauce, sesame oil, with a coating of corn flour. It's usually best left for a couple of hours to take effect. I'm cooking the rabbit with garlic and the less spicy green chilies, as the flesh has a delicate flavor.
What people outside of China don't know is that even home cooks will heat the wok up until it's very, very hot before they add the oil. So I've heated it up for a few minutes now. This is good firepower. As you can see, it's smoking like this. Don't worry, you want this to be very hot.
You obviously have to be careful of doing this at home, but if you pull the wok away from the heat, the flames will die down quickly.
It's very important is to take all this now and drain this. We add the garlic and the chilies. And instead of adding more oil, which is a mistake a lot of cooks make when they're not familiar with Chinese, we just add a little bit of this broth I made from the rabbit bones. And at the very end, I return the rabbit.
I'm only braising the rabbit meat for a couple of minutes. In the West, we usually aim for tenderness, but here people love chewy textures and really appreciate the feel of food in the mouth.
突出来又很有嚼头，非常的好吃。对。
While Ken cooks, I'm enjoying spending time with the family.
I feel like I've come back home. Yeah, it's great. 想到他，跟你们今天在一起，其实是很开心的。
Over the years, cooking has helped connect me to my Chinese roots. So it feels important to make something for Jenny's family that for them feels authentically Sichuanese. Watching Jenny's aunt cook is really inspiring.
She's making a boiled fish dish. Smells good. Your aunt is a really masterful cook. And she cooks in high heels. It's amazing.
I know.
It really is amazing.
I want to make a dish with traditional Sichuan flavors. I'm going to call it crispy, fragrant Sichuan sausage.
It's about experimenting. I do like to improvise sometimes because that's what I do at home.
First, I'm boiling some of Jenny's aunt's homemade sausages.
And it is a Chinese cook's dream to have all these ingredients. But I'm going to use the woodier mushrooms because they're going to be lovely and crunchy. I've been pointed to these lovely pickled chilies. I'm going to keep the seeds because I know this family likes their food hot. Now, these look like spring onions or scallions, but they're actually suan miao, which is the garlic shoots.
The sausages should be ready after just 10 minutes of boiling.
In with the garlic, and in with all the sausages. I'm going to wok fry the sausages first so they get a bit crisp. This is what my grandmother would do. And I'm just going to add the vegetables in now. All of them together at the same time.
The cooked vegetables are set aside, and then inspired by Jenny's aunt's fish dish, I'm making a kind of hot oil dressing based on chili bean paste and Sichuan flower pepper.
It's sour, it's spicy, it's hot, it's numbing heat. So what I'm going to do is just throw this all back into the wok and toss it all together so that all the flavours are mixed in really well. Okay, that is my crispy, fragrant Sichuan sausage with woodier mushrooms, garlic shoots and pickled chili. And it's so hot. It's so numbing heat. Oh.
Jenny's aunt is treating us to the kind of feast the family only enjoys on special occasions. It's an amazing spread, including the water-boiled fish with its vibrant layers of hot oil, chili, and vegetables. Braised eel with green peppers, and a delicious, unusual stir-fry shredded potato.
With so much amazing, authentic food on the table, I hope I've pulled off a dish that delivers the right balance of spice and numbing heat.
做出来了，真的很棒，非常相似我们四川的那种地道的川菜。啊，是吗？对对对。
Phew. I can have another drink now.
And Ken and Ching will be with us live in the studio next week to celebrate Chinese New Year, which is the year of the os. Or horse, as they say down south. Os. Right, it's time to find out whether Chris will be facing food heaven or food hell. Food heaven would be chicken. Which can be sautéed with some Madeira, mushrooms, shallots, cream, that kind of stuff. Some mashed potato. Food hell would be, not tin tuna, a big piece of tuna there, seared with a nice little sort of hot ginger pickle, seared watermelon to go with it. What do you think you're going to get? Because Stephen decided on the tuna.
I would say that I'm probably going to get the tuna.
You're not, because James here chose the chicken as well. So it was 4-1. There you go. We'll lose this out of the way. So what I'm going to do is prepare this chicken, first of all. So we're going to cut this, what they call cut for sauté, really. So we're going to take off the little legs here, and then take off the legs, first of all, because there's 4 pieces of dark meat on a chicken, 4 pieces of white. And to do that, we just break the legs like that, turn it over, and you've got the little oyster underneath, which we remove. No need to cut through any bones with this point. And then we're going to cut through this part here. That's 2 pieces of dark meat. All right? Right. Do you want me to slow that down?
No, I'm
break that open like that, and then there's a little eye underneath here, little oyster. You want to dig that out, because this is a real good part of the chicken. That's when you're roasting the chicken, go for that bit. It's the best bit. So you just cut this straight through the knuckle there. And if you can grab me a little bit of oil, that small bottle, that'd be great. And then pop about 2 tablespoons in there. That'll be all right. Straight in there. That's it. Thank you. I'm going to pop the chicken in. We'll get this sealing first of all. Now, if you guys can chop me the bacon, that would be great. Yep. If you could do that, that'd be fantastic. So this is a sort of a stew done with bacon and mushrooms and everything else. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to take this and we can cut this in also to One more piece of white meat. And again, cut through. There should be a little knuckle there. You cut straight through. Another piece of white meat. Right, so you end up, so the idea is you end up with 4 pieces of dark meat, 4 pieces of white meat. That's the key to this. And then you end up with this bit, which is a little bit tricky. So you just cut through here. Use that for stocks and sauces and bits and pieces. And then you trim that through. I actually like to keep this on the bone, really, because it keeps it nice and moist. Yeah. And you've got this. So that's your 4 pieces of dark meat, 4 pieces of white meat. Right. Now, the guys are preparing the rest of it. We've got some peeled potatoes happening for our mashed potato. That'd be great. There's a pan on there. You're going to serve this with some French beans and bits and bobs. Bacon over here, which we've got. Grab our fork. There you go. What's that? Are you eating something? What are you eating? Yep. Raw mushroom.
I love raw mushroom.
Chris, you need to get out of all that. Raw mushroom.
My wife buys 2 punnets of raw mushrooms. One for cooking with, one because I eat them.
Right. Well, I'll show you something that, look, this is a thing, because Ken Alston might be watching this, our old college tutor. This is something you can learn to do. This is called a turn mushroom. Hold the mushroom nice and like that. This is what you do at college when you've got too much time on your hands. This is an old classic garnish that I haven't done on this show before, but you used to serve this. What was that fish dish that you used to serve this with at college? Bon fam, look, do you remember it?
Show my age.
Yeah. Look, like that. Be a little mushroom. And then what you do with this, you grab the little point of the mushroom. My chicken's burning, but I've got a nice fancy mushroom. Yeah. And then you trim off this bottom bit.
Bless you. That's the nicest mushroom I've ever had.
Don't ask me what the point of that is, but anyway, there you go, that's what it is. So, right, we've got our bacon. I'm going to throw the bacon in as well. And all the chicken, throw the whole lot in. So the big chunky onions as well, throw them in. The beans are going in. I keep the sort of points to the greens as well on those. What I'm going to do is quickly stir that around. I noticed how you guys didn't decide to turn the mushroom at the same time.
No, done enough of that.
Right, so you're just getting a little bit of colour, not too much, because you're on the chicken like this. No need for any flour with this, really. And then what we're going to do is throw the garlic in. The garlic we put in now so it doesn't burn. Right, throw the chicken back in. All that. And then we can choose whatever mushrooms that we've got left, the bits that you haven't eaten.
Sorry.
Right. They can go in as well. Fill your boots. And then we've got some wild mushrooms in there as well. You've had enough mushrooms now, haven't you? I know. And they just go in there as well. So then we take some Madeira, which I love. A bit of that in there as well. Some chicken stock. Now you could just cook this as it is, just with the chicken stock. But we've got some double cream. Bit of double cream, like that. And then we grab some fresh tarragon over the top. Good pinch of salt and black pepper. There you go. How are you doing with the mashed potatoes, Chef?
I'm just getting all that creaminess. I know you like a lot of cream, so just bring that up to
I don't know what you mean. So, but we're going to make some proper mashed potato. Now, this is it. So
bring that up to the boil.
You can tell us how you do your proper mash.
For Chris or me?
Yeah, you.
Me?
Well, I start off.
Come on. Just bring the cream to the boil, so you know, so it's not too wet and too too much of it. So just reduce the volume.
Yep.
And butter and potato, and just mix it in and season it.
Well, hurry up because we've got about 30 seconds.
All right.
Right. Drain off the beans.
Yep.
That's those ones. And then what I'm going to do is take our chicken, which we've got, which has been cooking for about sort of about 35, 40 minutes. We've got that. We're going to finish that off with more tarragon. I don't know why we don't use more tarragon, really, but with chicken, it's like a perfect combination. So butter in with the beans, a bit of black pepper.
So it all comes together nice and tidy.
That's fondant. There you go.
That's a good word.
Fondant. Fondant. You ready, Chef? Do a nice chefy dollop.
Chefy dollop.
Okay, go on.
Something like a quenelle.
No, just a dollop. It's Euro style, not Michelin style, with this amount of time to go. All right. Bit of that on there. A few beans. And then we've got our chicken. You grab some knives and forks, guys.
Yep.
This is where you get to dive into this.
Good.
So you just put a bit of dark meat, bit of white meat.
Yeah, fighting rings.
Clean the plate. Thank you very much. And there you have it. That's what you got. Plenty of sauce with it as well. And it needs one more thing, just for you. Dive into that one, Chris. Tell me what you think.
Heavenly.
To go with this tip, it's chosen Nicholas Potal, Chardonnay, 2012, from Majestic's, based at £8.99. Another great choice today. Tell us what you think of that one.
It is
delicious.
Proper
Chef's
chef's
dish, that.
Happy with that?
Delicious. Beautiful.
Pretty good. Just remind everybody, Death in Paradise on 9 o'clock next.
9 o'clock, Tuesday, BBC One.
He's got it and he hasn't forgotten. What do you think of that then, guys?
Delicious.
Happy with that?
That's lovely.
Delicious. There you go. One final bit. And I'm always left with a bottle. I love this show. That's off Saturday Kitchen Live. Thanks to Stephen Terry, James McKenzie, brilliant first effort on the show, and Chris Marshall. Cheers to Tim Atkin for the brilliant wine choices today. Remember, all of today's recipes are on our website. Go to bbc.co.uk/Saturday Kitchen. You can join more Best Bites tomorrow at the slightly later time of midday over on BBC Two, and we're back live at the same time next week with Ken Home and Chinky Guan to help celebrate Chinese New Year. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day and enjoy the weekend. Bye for now.
Cheers.